Okay. Okay, thanks, Fern. Alongside is Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle, we were doing a pregame show before the Denver Broncos game, and things were going bad. Right? The lighting is down. I'm looking at the wrong camera, we're rolling the wrong tapes, and that's how a TV show works sometimes. So I get home, I look back, and I said, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was, as bad as it felt. And I'm wondering if you can relate after the Denver game.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much how it always is. It's never as good as it feels, and it's never as bad as it feels, usually. Felt pretty bad during that game, and especially when you go into halftime with 4 turnovers, and we still ended up having a 5th one in the second half. So that's about as bad of a feeling as you can have as a coach or a player on the field. You get back and you watch the tape, and there's some good things in it, a lot of bad things, but didn't look as bad as it felt, but it felt pretty bad, so I don't know how much that's still saying.
Yeah, I interviewed at halftime. I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to interview Coach after first half turnovers. You said after the game, I think it was on Monday, quote, "We want everything to be perfect, and that's why most of the time I'm not happy." This is a 2-14 football team. Rome isn't built overnight. Who keeps you from being too hard on yourself?
A lot of people try, I think. Mainly my family members, my wife, my kids try real hard. Mm-hmm. They always like me no matter what. So usually when I get home, that helps me separate it. But it's people can tell you whatever you want, but when you put a lot of time into stuff and things mean a lot to you, I think that's pretty normal. Everyone's gonna be pretty down when things don't work out the way they want. But I say that I'm rarely happy, but it's more just you're being a perfectionist, and I think that's what drives us each week. And you're always going for the perfect game, which I don't think anyone in the history of football has ever had a perfect game. And that's what I always kind of tell our players. No matter how good you think you played, you get used to us coaching you on it, because until it's perfect, we're going to always have something to tell you can get better at. And I've never seen someone be perfect. So that's kind of just how we are. And I feel like I always felt you get better or worse. So if you never stay the same, so if you don't keep that mentality, you're usually going to get worse.
49er fans might disagree with you in the win over Denver, 55-10 Super Bowl. That was as close to perfection as you're going to get.
I agree, and considering I was a little kid in the stands on the Denver team at that time, that wasn't a fun day for my family.
That was not a good day.
No, not at all. They gave up 10 points though, so it wasn't perfect.
That's right. They did get.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. This is the first time you've handled the head coaching duties, right? It's just not coordinator. You're running the offense, you're running the team. You have to think of everything from A to Z. So this is an interesting preseason for you, and that you're working things out that you've never had to work out before. What is your growing pain like? What's your learning?
I just have a process that I get ready for that I think prepares me to call a game. And that's a pretty thorough, big process that I have. So I'm trying not to change that at all, but I'm also realizing all the other stuff that I've added to my duties. And I'm glad I do have 4 preseason games to figure that out. And usually I just want to get through the preseason, which I still feel similar right now, but I need those 4 games. Just even getting used to having to talk to you at the end of a second quarter.
Right.
That's really not something that's ever been on my mind. You're never thinking about answer a question. You're thinking about how to get into the locker room, what plays to put together, and how to speak to your team. And then you got to think about what do you say to a reporter when you come off the field too. So those are things that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I think it'll get easier each week. I don't think it's stuff that's too tough. It's stuff that you can handle, but it's stuff you don't really think about it until it happens.
Yeah, but you have to pay attention to a lot more detail than you did, and that leads me into the next question. Is you have a reputation league-wide of being a master manipulator of defenses. In other words, you can exploit a weakness in the defense as an offensive coordinator, but you're not the eye in the sky anymore. You're not up in the booth looking down. Is it harder as a head coach to recognize a weakness in the defense and to exploit that?
No, I don't think that at all. I think, I called plays for 9 years, and I've been in the box 1 year of those. So I've called plays for 8 years on the sidelines, and last year I went to the box for the first time, and how you see the game didn't change for me. What was nice was having a chair up there, being able to sit down and relax and just not have to talk to so many people, and always being able to gather your thoughts, and basically just being a little cubby or office by yourself where you can just totally get your play calls ready. That's the thing that was nice. But I think guys who have called plays from the box their entire career, and now all of a sudden they have to move to the sidelines, I think it takes time to get adjusted to, but that's where I've always done it until last year. So that's not a big deal. calling the plays and attacking the defenses, that's more your preparation in the week. And the way I'm used to seeing it, I'm okay and confident about seeing it live.
The penalties were an issue, obviously. The first 2 games, 17 in Kansas City, I think, 11 against Denver. And I'm wondering, is this a result of new coach, new system, a complete turnover in the rosters? Is it happening in practice? And what's your solution?
I don't think that's the case. I think it's just situational where, the first week, if you look at both teams, a lot of penalties are being called regardless in both games. So you got to understand that with the preseason. But second of all, I think there's a lot of things that we can control that we got to do a lot better at, and that's mainly the pre-snap penalties. First game I expected it a little bit. Second game I thought we had it totally corrected, and I think we still had 3 of them pre-snap penalties on offense, which is way too many. I thought we would have 0. The penalties that I think are showing up the most are ones when guys get beat. When guys get beat, you got beat. Don't make it worse. Don't go clip a guy. Don't try to hold him after it. You got a lot of guys who are really doing everything they can to make this team. And I think sometimes when that happens, guys get a little bit desperate. So you got to point it out on the film. You got to address it with everybody. You don't just do it individually. You do it in front of everyone. You show what ones are avoidable. You show what ones are unfortunate, because it's very rare you're going to go through a game without penalties. But the amount we've had is unacceptable and something we got to get fixed. And I expect to fix it right away. And I'd be surprised if it carried over into the season.
Coaches, players, even the beat writers have raved about Brian Hoyer's performance in practice. He hasn't quite carried that over into the game, maybe the way you would like. And I know this is Brian's first time coming into a camp where he is the quarterback. So, but is he, do you think, maybe putting a certain amount of pressure on himself because of that? His numbers aren't that bad, but I know that you'd like to get him some momentum going into this game in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'd like to get our whole offense some momentum, get him out there a little bit longer, going some longer drives. I think pressing or the pressure of people complimenting you or people going against you, that's something that I think does affect people if you don't know how to deal with it. And I hope in Brian's case, he's been through that enough where if people are saying good things about you, I don't read it. It'll mess with your head, because as soon as they say bad stuff about you, it's going to hurt that much more. So you try, where I've gotten to a point in my career, and I'd like to think Brian has too, that you try to say the same. You don't let other people tell your story. You try to block it out, and you just try to focus on the process, go about your day-to-day business, and work your hardest, and just see what happens on Sunday. And I think in Brian's case, I've been happy with how he's played in the games. He had an unfortunate fumble that the ball slipped out of his hands, which I think that happens probably about every couple of years to a quarterback. It just landed in the wrong hands after it. But besides that play, I thought Brian did a good job. We ended up punting on that first series. We had a 2nd and 13 where we had a drop that I thought Brian made a good throw. Then we got into a long 3rd down. And then every time after that, I think Brian did a good job moving the chains. Just every single series he was in ended with a fumble. Yeah. And so we never got a punt again. We got to protect that ball. And I think if we stay out there a little bit longer, at least Brian will have the opportunity to show how he's playing.
You're getting a lot of production out of your number 2 or 3. I don't know what your depth chart is right now as of this second. So C.J. Beathard has looked in command. He's looked great. Led scoring drives. Is he the number 2? Is that competition continuing? And when do you think that competition might end? No,
it's going to continue probably going up till after the 4th game. That's a decision we'll make before week 1 when we start to put together our final 53-man roster. We've seen him in practice, so we got a very good feel for him, but we also want to see how it carries over to the game with both those 2. And they both got a lot of playing time. CJ got a little more in the 2nd game, where I felt like Barkley got a little bit more, at least with the 2s in the 1st game. We still haven't decided how we're going to play out here in this 3rd and 4th. But it's a good battle to watch.
Do you see a scenario in which you keep 3? And Brian's had health issues in the past. Do you see that?
You'd always like to keep 3, and that's usually the goal every year for us. And that's not really as much about them. It's more about the other people on the roster. And, how many running backs do you want? How many O linemen do you want? How many D linemen do you want? If you want to go extra at one position, because you don't want to lose a very good player at the expense of maybe keeping a third quarterback or a fourth running back or whatever it might be. So I think people get caught up a lot in what that position is going to be like, and it doesn't always have to do with that position. Who's our last special teams player? Who's our third tight end? There's a lot of factors that go into that, and that's why it's hard to really decide that until you know your final 53.
Yeah, there's going to be some tough choices. Where's your O-line at right now? I know, Staley and Trent are the bookends there, but what's the middle like for you right now?
Yeah, well, I think Dan's done a good job solidifying that center spot. I think the same with Fusco, who's done that at the right guard spot. We had some battles going at the left guard spot between Josh and Zane. We had Zuda in there earlier on going for it. And we have some young guys, too. Like, people probably don't know their names, and I don't want to say too much about them because I don't want other people hearing about them that aren't fans.
That sounds like Harbaugh. I could never get a name out of him.
But there's lots of competition going there on the left guard. Zane's stepped in and done a solid job, which he's been solid his whole career. But with Josh going out, we've lost some depth there. So we're going to need somebody to step up for us.
Generally, the general perception is that it's a lack of depth on that 49er football team. That was not the case at safety last week. And obviously Jimmy Ward's out. Eric Reed was all over the place, but Kwaski Tart had a sack, unblocked sack on the quarterback. But Lorenzo Jerome, who wasn't even drafted, was all over the place. Is this the deepest position? Is this the one area of your team that said, okay, I don't have to worry about this part?
Well, you never know going into it. Going into it, you don't totally know your guys. You've seen some of them on tape. You got an idea of the guys you got in college. We know how Lorenzo played in college. Chancellor James did also, who ended up getting hurt for us. But you never know until a guy gets his opportunity. And the way the safeties went down, especially early in camp, Lorenzo got a lot of opportunities. And he's gotten better with those opportunities, and he's taken advantage of it, and has given himself a chance to make this team.
Yeah, fun to watch. It's 4.7 in the 40, but it looks a little faster than on the field. Another undrafted player you guys took a chance on, Victor Walden, 4 yards deep in the end zone, right? And what I liked about his decision is that he's got to be thinking, I'm undrafted. I'm 5'8". They think I'm too small to play in the NFL. I'm 4 yards deep in the end zone. I'm going to take this ball.
Oh, there's no doubt. You see it all the time, and especially in preseason. I think he tried to take one out versus Kansas City about 8 yards deep, and I think it was Carter who stopped him right at the one before he did it. Those guys are hungry. Everyone's out there doing everything. This is their dream, and this is their career, and they're doing everything they can to make a team. And sometimes guys don't make the best decisions because of that. And that's a little bit what I talk about with some of those holding calls and clippings. And some guys make bad decisions with punt returns, not calling a fair catch when they should, because they know they're only going to get so many opportunities. And it always starts off as a bad decision, but if they return it, then it's a great job overcoming coaching.
That turned out to be a pretty good decision.
Yeah, it was a great decision. I didn't say that till the end of the play, though.
Right, exactly. You got some nice publicity hiring the first NFL female coach, Katie Sowers, also a member of the LGBT community. What made you decide that she was capable of being an NFL coach, and what role do you see for her?
She's just, she was an intern for us who I think we had signed on for about 3 weeks. And we had the same thing with her in Atlanta. And she did a good job in Atlanta for us, helping out with the receiver room, basically just helping out with scripts, getting that stuff to both people, helping doing some of the busy work for our receiver coach out there, and Raheem Morris. And then we brought her here because she did a good job there to do the same thing. And she's even gotten better in that area with Michael Fleur this year. So anybody we feel that could help out, we'd love to keep around. And we talked to Katie about it, and she would love the opportunity that we were going to give her. And I think it helped both of us because she's a good worker and she helps out. Do
you think it's harder for a female coach to reach a male player?
I think I wouldn't necessarily say it's male or female. It's you have to earn players' respect, and I think sometimes it happens with coaches that maybe never played football growing up. You're not just going to be able to tell a player something they're going to listen to you unless they respect you, and you got to earn that respect somehow. And I see it with male coaches all the time that they never played before. Well, they better be very on their stuff and studying and prepared and be able to show and earn a player's trust. Former players and former Hall of Famers, right when they walk in the room, guys are going to listen to them. But if they're not very good at what they're talking about, they only listen to them for about a week or so, and then it's over. So it's all, can you help a player? And that's all it's about. I don't think players care whether you're old, whether you're young, whether you're male, whether you're female, whether you played or whether you didn't play. It just comes down to, can you help them? They're trying to earn a job. They're trying to get better. It's important to them to take care of their family just like it is to everyone else who has a job. And if you can help someone get better at their job and help someone keep a job, they're going to listen to whoever. That doesn't matter.
You know, you're breaking down barriers. So good compliments to the 49ers and you for doing that. Let me close on this. I know you're not comfortable where you're at right now. Is this team where you expected it to be at this point?
Yes. I mean, I believe that we had a long way to go right when we got here. I think we've taken advantage of every opportunity through the free agent, through the draft, watching when people have been released over the wire. I think we've done everything we can to improve ourselves as much as possible. I've been very happy with how guys have gotten better throughout OTAs and training camp. And I do feel good with where we've come, but I also know we've got a long way to go. And a lot plays into that. We'll see how we respond to injuries throughout the year. We'll see if our guys continue to get better or worse, because I'll say it 1,000 times, you never stay the same. And, you know, I feel like I got a good feel for our guys, but you never really know someone until you go through adversity. So, and sometimes it takes a season to go through that. So I really want to see us improve. I want to see us compete. I want us to see us compete in every single game, and I want us to be very proud of what we put on tape. But also when it's all said and done, I want to know who's with us and with who's not. And sometimes I feel real good about everyone now. But you find out a lot more about people when times get tough.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. It's better than the halftime interview, isn't it?
Oh, it's a lot better. I'm more prepared, more relaxed.
I tell you what, you have a good game this weekend. I'll have a good telecast, and we don't have to go back and look at the tape at all.
All right, I appreciate it. That'd be nice.
Kyle, thanks a lot.
All right, take care.
Okay, Vern Glenn, back to you. All right, Coach, thank you.